Hey, Brandon. So,
Wow.
so there's a lot of people that are hurting. Have you ever done something that you regret in the past?
Oh yeah, what? All the time.
But I mean, there's difference. There's difference between doing something stupid like sitting, like doing something, and then actually hurting and cause emotional damage to somebody else. I mean, it's a difference. So to those, I'm talking about the people that are hurting about a situation that happened between them and somebody else.
Yeah.
How, as a Christian, do you get over that? Like, do you live in that conviction, or what happens?
So as a Christian, there's two things that should happen. The first is you should learn from what happened. Right? That's the thing. You shouldn't be continually going and wrecking relationships and behaving like someone who's immature, being a child, and ruining good relationships in your life because you are struggling emotionally and maybe you've had damage in your own life, and as a result it's just uncontrollable. Right? So the first thing is we need to have self-awareness in those types of relationships to find out that we are probably part of the behavior if it continually keeps happening. Right? Even if it's painful, we need to be able to go before God. The second thing is we can't fix it. Right? That's one of the things that you'll find as a Christian is that having a relationship with God and having Christ in your life allows you reconciliation for relationships that have been damaged. Whether or not they're restored, that's another video to maybe do another time. But God can reconcile those things and basically eliminate any bad blood, any unforgiveness, and be able to basically restore you in that type of a situation. And and the hard part is we have to own up. Again, I guess the theme for today is personal responsibility. We have to own up to that we are a problem. Sin can be the root of that problem, and not repenting and going before God for help in those things, in and of itself can hinder our testimony, it can hinder our walk, and it can be something that we can basically let be a distraction in our life. Right? There's plenty of times where I'll look back to my behavior in relationships previously and cringe. You're like, oh man, I was such an idiot, or I was so immature, I can't believe I acted like that. And it's a good reminder that we're never perfect, and there's still that ability to make mistakes in relationships because people are complex, right? Emotions are not cut and dry, and so we can do something inadvertently and hurt somebody else. But if we have the mentality of Jesus and we have Him in our life working, then we're going to be meek and we're going to be willing to go before someone with humility, and even if we have hurt them, be willing to apologize and reconcile that type of relationship.
So I met a few people from the streets who have killed people. And they always say, oh, I know I'm going to hell, like God's not going to forgive me for what I have done. But Paul actually was involved in killing some Christians, right? And look what he did with him. So can he use people like that?
Yeah, and it's tough because in our own mind, we're not worthy of that forgiveness. But people who are religious don't realize that they're in the same boat. If they've ever held hatred in their heart before God, they're being judged as a murderer would be. So we have a poor understanding of what sin does, and the fact that literally nobody deserves the forgiveness that God gives to us. The problem with religion is it's basically ostracized people who have done even worse sins in light of the law of the country or whatever it might be, the law of the land. And so they have this mentality that God can never forgive them, but God forgives everybody. Right? Guys like Paul, what did he say? He said, for whom much has been forgiven, much is to be expected, right? He's going to have a greater love because there's an even deeper forgiveness that he feels in his life because of what God has changed in him and what God has done to be able to work through him for other people. So, religious people try to segregate sins and put them in levels. Some sins are here, some are way worse, others are super unforgivable, and God says, a sin against me is a sin. Right? Where is your heart? That's what He's concerned about. And if you're willing to go to Him to change, then it's an even greater testimony if you have done something that in the eyes of the world is bad, but in His eyes is a sin that's going to, lead to death regardless. So, I think it's difficult to try to witness to those people because they've made their mind up. Right? They're not going to accept forgiveness because they don't think God would give it to them. But, God will forgive anybody if we're willing to repent earnestly and go before Him, and then He'll transform us, and it'll be an even greater testimony.